What is up, and welcome to another episode of Tiger Pick'ems. My name is Lucas Parrish, and I am your host. And today, I am joined by MUTV staffers Mark Poland Jr. and Zach Calder. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also doing well. Excited to talk some football. We've got some good matchups going on. Zach, you got any upsets for us today?
Looking at my sheet right here, I don't really have any upsets this week, but things could change as I listen to you guys talk about the games and stuff like that. I'm not really set on anything, but
100%, man. We got a lot of close matchups. We got a lot of great matchups for you guys today. Starting off, back to all SEC after talking about some Big Ten last week. First game, we'll have LSU at Auburn, moving on to Mississippi State at Alabama. Then Arkansas at Texas A&M, and of course, the University of Missouri at Florida. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and enjoy the show.
Dominant in their win against South Carolina last week. The same South Carolina team that we saw knock off Auburn a couple weeks ago. TJ Finley, the true freshman quarterback, he threw for 265 yards last week, 2 touchdowns, and added a score on the ground. He also got some help from that dynamic pair of running backs in the backfield, Ty Davis-Price and John Emery Jr. Those two accounted for 224 of the 276 rushing yards LSU had last week. And you can't forget about Terrace Marshall Jr., the big-time receiver. He's ranked number 2 in the country with receiving touchdowns at 9. He's also top 10 in the country with yards, and he has at least 2 touchdowns in every single game of the season. On the offensive side of the ball for Auburn, you got Bo Nix. He struggled a bit. His completion percentage is not where you want it to be for a quarterback. It's under 60%, but he bounced back well against Ole Miss last week, so I expect him to have a big game. He's got his big-time receiver, his number 1 target, Seth Williams, on the outside. Seth is averaging over 18 yards a catch this season, so I expect him to make some big-time plays. And then in the backfield, you got Tanks Bigsby. He's already a star. He's had 3 games in a row where he's rushed for 100 yards, so I expect him to play well. And then on the defensive side of the ball, at LSU, you got the pair of corners, Derek Stingley Jr. and Elias Ricks. Ricks leads the country, actually, in interceptions this year with 3. And then for Auburn, their defense is holding teams to only 25 points this season. So I think it's going to be a shootout. Lots of points are going to be scored, and it's going to come down to that last possession. So whoever has the ball last, I think, takes the game. So I'm taking LSU 45-48 this season.
Wow, that's a high score. What do you think is going to be the X factor for LSU? What do you think puts them over the top in this game? I know you said you think it comes down to whoever has the last possession, but you picked LSU for a reason.
I just think that the play of TJ Finley last week surprised me. True freshman quarterback, his first game, he played really well. Yeah. The offense didn't miss a beat without Miles Brennan. They put up 52 points. And
it's interesting that their offense is doing so well. LSU in the past has always been known for having that really good defense. This season, their defense, really bad. I mean, we'll talk about Mississippi State later, but KJ Costello put up 5 of the 6 touchdown passes he has on the year against them week 1. Of course, Conor Basilac put up 4 touchdown passes on them. Their offense is kind of killing it, though. They finally got their running game going. Zach, what do you have for a score? What do you think that X factor is going to be?
Yeah, so I think LSU's offense is going to be that X factor. Like, you look at these last 2 years, I know, Lucas, you talked about it. LSU's always been kind of a defensive school. Yeah. But these last couple of years, they've turned into an elite offensive school. And so I just think their rushing attack will end up being the difference in this game. And I have LSU winning 38-21 over Auburn.
Yeah, I don't know how we didn't see this coming. Coming into the season, LSU lost the majority of their starting players from last year's insane squad. I've got LSU taking this one as well, though. 38-27. Auburn concerns me. Bo Nix has not been playing well. We were hoping to see him take that next step now that he's a sophomore. Unfortunately, he has yet to do that, and their defense has not been great either. If it's a shootout, LSU wins it. If it's not, I think Auburn has a good chance. But at the end of the day, I think LSU takes it.
Yeah. So for Mississippi State, Alabama, I mean, there's not a ton to say about this game. I mean, every time I'm on the show, it seems like I'm covering Mississippi State, and my statements always kind of remain the same. They don't give Kylan Hill the ball enough. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He is a star running back, and they just do not use him enough. He is going to be an NFL running back one day. They're relying too much on KJ Costello. He has 6 touchdowns, 10 interceptions.
Yeah, he's been bad.
I'm not going to lie, that's not a very good ratio. And going up against a team like Alabama, that could be problematic. One thing that I will look for from Mississippi State on the defensive side is the play of Emmanuel Forbes, which I think will be even more key with the loss of Jalen Waddle for the season for Alabama. Yep. So he'll be locked up with Devontae Smith most of the game, I believe. And that'll be a big issue for Alabama, seeing how they come back off of that Jalen Waddle miss. But moving over to Alabama, their offense is just
so good.
Amazing.
So good.
They have Najee Harris, who has 103 attempts on the year for 598 yards and a ridiculous 14 touchdowns.
Through, 5 games?
Yeah.
My God. Yeah,
he's
that's
one
insane.
Of 2 running backs in the country with double digits.
I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy contender, absolutely. He's been ridiculously good.
Those are stats I put up on NCAA Football 14. That shouldn't be a real stat.
Exactly.
And then you have Mac Jones with a ridiculous 78% completion percentage with 1,905 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I just think Alabama is clearly the more dominant team here, and I have them winning a not close game at all, 56-14 over Mississippi State.
Look, losing Waddle is of course huge, but Alabama always has good receivers. I'm not concerned about some of the younger guys stepping up. And you mentioned the 78% completion percentage for Mac Jones. Completion percentage is not something I typically put a lot of weight on, but then you also mentioned the 1,900 yards. He is not just a dink and dunk guy. He's going down the field. He's just not missing. Mac Jones has been a stud. I don't have it by that much, but I have 45-14 Alabama. I think this is going to be a blowout. I don't know if you can predict something different.
I have 45-14 Alabama too.
Wow.
Well, that offense
good mind.
Has so many weapons. I think if Mississippi State is going to have a chance, KJ Costello is going to have to limit the turnovers. It's an air raid offense. They're going to throw the ball. We talked about Kylan Hill not getting many opportunities. That's just the Mike Leach offense. But get this, they have 8 guys with at least 9 receptions and 100 receiving yards. So they got some guys that can make plays, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Mississippi State's probably going to get destroyed. But you know what? Most teams do when they play Alabama. Moving now to Arkansas at Texas A&M. This one's going to be, I think, our first really close game. Obviously, LSU and Auburn may be close. I think Arkansas and A&M is going to be even closer. Starting on the Arkansas side of the ball, quarterback Felipe Franks, after a bad week 1 where he's only threw 1 touchdown pass to 2 interceptions, has been killing it. 7 touchdowns to 1 pick since that game. And that's a lot, in part, thanks to wide receiver Treylon Burks, who's really come out. 19 receptions, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really been a good threat there for Franks. Their defense, though, has been great. I should say great for SEC standards right now. Obviously, SEC defenses have fallen off a little bit. They're allowing 418 yards per game, but only 25.5 points per game, and they have 10 interceptions on this season already. The key to the game for them is simple. It's their defense. If their defense is able to make plays, is able to make Kellen Mond struggle, Arkansas has a good shot of taking this game. Moving on to Texas A&M, quarterback Kellen Mond, like I just mentioned, 80 for 130, 984 yards, 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Kellen Mond is a guy who we've always wanted to see that next step, right? He's always been a guy who's led this Texas A&M offense, and it's always rested on Mond's shoulders. This year, with them ranked, 8th in the nation right now, he's been doing it. Isaiah Spiller there at running back has also been quite good. 64 attempts, 430 yards, and 4 touchdowns, giving them a nice balanced attack. Their defense is allowing 70 fewer yards than Arkansas, but 3.5 more points per game. So their defense, surprisingly, Texas A&M has one of the better SEC defenses. That's not something you hear often. But obviously the key to the game is Kellen Mond. If Kellen Mond shows up, puts the team on his shoulders, I think they take it. I have Kellen Mond doing that. I have Texas A&M narrowly beating Arkansas 31-28. I know that's crazy to say with how much higher Texas A&M is ranked, but both of these schools are better than I think they get credit for. Well, obviously, Texas A&M now is ranked high. I think Arkansas is a lot better than it gets credit for, though.
So yeah. You mentioned Treylon Burks, but you forgot on the opposite side, Davion Warren.
Yeah.
He's averaging over 20 yards a catch, and he actually has 3 touchdowns this season to go along with 231 yards.
Yeah.
So I think that offense it has some weapons, it has some tools, and then their defense is just spectacular. Their corner, Hudson Clark, he leads the nation in interceptions with 3 on the season, and that defense has 13 takeaways already. They're a very stingy defense. And then for the Aggies, Kellen Mond has to play well.
Of course.
They go as far as Kellen Mond takes them.
Yep.
I think they inched this one out 17-10 now.
Yeah, wow, you have it low scoring.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I'm kind of on the same page with these guys. Texas A&M is going to go as far as Kellen Mond will take them. But I also think the running back for Texas A&M, Isaiah Spiller, will help a lot against this Arkansas defense, who loves to intercept the ball. So I think it'll be big to get Isaiah Spiller going, and I think Texas A&M will do that. I have them leaning on Spiller a little bit more in this game than they have in recent games, but I have Texas A&M pulling this one out 24-17 over Arkansas.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas A&M just has the more balanced attack. Arkansas, Felipe Franks has been really good. On the ground, they have not gotten all that much going. Moving now to the game everybody's been waiting for. Mizzou at number 10, Florida. And to give you a preview of Florida's team, we have a package from our very own Haley McCormick. Please enjoy.
The Mizzou Tigers take on the Florida Gators this Saturday, October 31st at 6:30 p.m. in Gainesville. The Tigers are feeling pretty good off their 2-game win streak, especially with one of those wins being against national champions. But is that enough to keep the Tigers going as they take on the 2-1 Florida Gators? The Gators have an almost unstoppable offense, 6th in success rate, 20th in explosiveness, 22nd in rushing, and 5th in passing, along with Dan Mullen maximizing the offensive side of the ball for his team this year. Kyle Trask, Florida's quarterback, and Pitts, Florida's tight end, are lethal. Trask already has 996 yards over 3 games, and Pitts at 274 yards and 7 touchdowns on 26 targets with 17 catches. Kadarius Toney, Florida's wide receiver, is also to be on the lookout as he's earned 24 targets, 18 catches, 237 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Their offensive line powers through run stuff and sacks and can open up 4-yard holes 57% of the time. The Gators have also been successful at converting third downs when averaging 8.8 yards to go. So not only are we looking at a powerful offense, but defense as well. For MU23 Sports, this has been Haley McCormick.
Florida's offense has been killing it, led by Kyle Trask. He's right up there in the Heisman conversation, absolutely. Their defense, on the other hand, has been a little bit worse. 495 yards allowed per game and 33.3 points allowed per game. Moving now to Mizzou's side of the ball. We talk about it every single week. Conor Basilac, last week, didn't do much, but he did enough. On the season, 893 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Last week, the story was all about Larry Roundtree. 37 attempts, 126 yards, and a touchdown. And they're being led by wide receiver Jalen Knox. Not Damon Hazelton, not Kiki Chisom. Knox, the guy who's been there. He's looked great. Their defense has only allowed 365 yards per game as well, so their defense has not been all that bad. The key to the game for Mizzou is their pass rush. They have to get to Kyle Trask, because for Florida, the key to the game is Kyle Trask. If, like you mentioned with Kellen Mond and Texas A&M, Florida this season is going to go as far as Kyle Trask takes them. So far, that's been pretty darn far, although they did end up losing a very close one to Texas A&M. If Mizzou's pass rush gets to Trask, I think they've got a very good shot, especially we've seen Basilac turn it on. We've seen Basilac play well against defenses that are underperforming, even against some good teams like LSU, though it's questionable as to how good they actually are this year. Florida, on the other hand, is quite good. I do have Florida taking this one, though, 38-31. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be high scoring. I just don't think Mizzou, and of course, I should even mention Florida has not practiced for a while, so they may be a little bit rusty. I still think Florida is the better team. They end up taking it 38-31. It will be close, though.
You talked about getting pressure, but I think the big thing is this Mizzou secondary has to play well. We saw them here against LSU. They really struggled to take care of Terrace Marshall Jr.
Yep.
And Kyle Pitts, he's been in the receiving end of half of Kyle Trask's 14 touchdowns. 14 touchdowns through 3 games. Kyle Pitts has been on the receiving end of 7. So I think if that secondary plays well, Mizzou's going to be in the game. They're going to have a chance. I actually have Mizzou winning this game. I think that if there was ever a time to face Florida,
and it's this week, absolutely.
It's this week. 3 weeks without a game. Their last game was a loss to Texas A&M. They haven't had many practices, so I think Mizzou can take this if that secondary plays well. So I got Mizzou taking it 27-24.
I will say the secondary, whenever they played LSU, was good on the initial routes. The issue was Miles Brennan had time to sit back in the pocket and throw, and it was there that we really got beat, or the Mizzou really got beat. That's where I think the pass rush comes into play.
Yeah. So I'm kind of with both of you guys. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think there's going to be a ton of defense played in this game. But the X factor for me in this game is Kyle Pitts. I see him play. This will sound a little biased here, but I see Tony Gonzalez. I see Travis Kelce. I know those are just Chiefs tight ends, but that's because Chiefs have the best tight ends of all time. But I just don't see the Mizzou secondary being able to stop Pitts, and I don't see us getting to Trask soon enough to stop Pitts, and for that reason I have Florida beating us 45-38 in a shootout. But
it'll be a shootout. It'll be close. Florida definitely has the edge, even though, Mizzou's got a chance. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for sticking with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We got Mizzou, unfortunately, taking the loss in a close one, but it should be a good game. Sit back, enjoy it, and have a great week.